Welcome to how GDPR will change the way you do backups and recoveries. My name is Mark Stamer. I am the President and Chief Dragon Slayer of Dragon Slayer Consulting. I've been an analyst consultant expert in this field for 20 years, and I've got 38 years of industry experience. I help improve partners' marketing, and I help end users with problems at no cost. That's why you see my contact information on the screen. So if you need to contact me or if you want to contact me, you're always welcome to with what you see here. So let's get into it. I know you know this. You know that GDPR is completely changing all your IT processes. But the one that most people are not really paying attention to is how it's changing backups and recoveries. And GDPR is actually the first regulatory compliance with huge teeth, financial teeth. Lower level fines are roughly 10 million euros, or a little under 9 million pounds, for 2% of worldwide revenues, whichever is greatest, and higher level fines are twice that. That's big. That's huge. And when you look at it from a resident's personal data point of view, there are really 4 articles that we're concerned about when it comes to the backup and recovery processes. The first is Article 6, managing consent. The second is Article 17, the right to be forgotten. And the other 2 are Articles 25 and 32, which really have to do with state-of-the-art solutions and specifically data protection. So let's take a quick look at Article 6, managing consent when it comes to backup and recovery. First, as you probably already know, you have to document user consent, their opt-ins or opt-outs, and more specifically, user requests to be forgotten, and what you did to make them forgotten, the deletions and the erasures. Well, that makes sense. Now, as it results or as it affects Article 17, it gets kind of interesting. In Article 17, you've got to identify and delete all their personal data, totally erase it upon their request, or when why you collected it is no longer valid, or their consent was withdrawn. And you have to do this not just from the primary systems, which is what most people are focused on, but from all the backups, from all the archives. And according to GDPR, without undue delay, which means 30 days or less. Now, that can be really difficult for backups, especially image-based backups, because image-based backups are unreadable blobs. You have to mount them. And each incremental is a virtual backup. In other words, every time you do a backup, you're not taking all the data again. You're taking an image of all the changes since the last time you took an image. So you can't really delete one image and say, okay, it's going to propagate against all of them. It doesn't work that way. You've got to go into the image, mount it, delete the data, and do it for each and every one. Now, Article 17 is really difficult for backups and recoveries because of that. Because as I said, everything's got to be mounted. The data's got to be deleted. Then you have to document what you did. That's Article 6. That's what I said as it relates to 17. And then you got to take the backup back down. In other words, put it back in a backup state. Now, if you have to do that for one request, one right to be forgotten, yeah, that's going to be a pain, but not too big of a pain. But if you have to do it for thousands, it's likely going to be an ineffective response just on image-based backup, because you can't do it without undue delay. There are just too many backups. If you're keeping backups for 30 days, you probably won't get it done. But if you're keeping them for a year or many years, it's just not going to happen. Article 25 and 32 is the state-of-the-art solutions, right? The effective response to GDPR requirements. So since most IT organizations have had since 2016 to prepare now, if you're GDPR compliant, by definition, you're effective and state-of-the-art. If you're non-compliant, you can't blame the technology, you can't blame the systems or the processes. You've had 2 years. So the regulatory environment is going to say, by definition, it's ineffective and it's not state-of-the-art. So to summarize quickly, effective GDPR backup and recovery responses are difficult and tricky. but not at PCM with VSTAX Protect and VSTAX Recover. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to David Harris to tell you why.
Thanks, Mark. Hello, everyone. I'm David Harris. I run the Solutions and Services team here at PCM. I've got a little less experience in the industry than Mark, so Mark's about 15 years now, although almost all of that has been in the backup, recovery and archive arena. So here in the Solutions team at PCM, we're responsible for delivery of all of our in-house services and solutions, and helping to deliver anything that looks like a more complex project. And that's across all of the project stages from initial design and conception all the way through to deployment and commissioning into your production environment. So PCM are a relatively new company. We opened in the UK in May 2017, so just a little over a year ago now. But we've been on a really rapid growth path since then. So we've completed 2 acquisitions. We're up to just under 200 members of staff. I think we're about 6 offices now in the UK. The first of the acquisitions was the Stack Group. So Stack have got nearly a 40-year history of providing a wide range of IT services and solutions. The solutions in portfolio now are in many ways completely unrecognizable from those that we offered in the past. But the common theme that runs through all of them was a focus on delivering excellent outcomes for our customers. The services today really cover the full gambit of your IT estate, be that traditional on-site professional services, all the way through to some of the fully managed services that we'll cover today. We brand all of our services under the VSTAX umbrella, and here you can see the wide range of these we have in portfolio. Today we're talking about 2 in particular, VSTAX Protect and VSTAX Recover. So unlike a lot of the other backup solutions out there in the market, with VSTAX Protect we use a combination of both file and image-based backup techniques. Each of these have got their own advantages, and they can apply to the same or different data sets. So for example, for your highly critical data where speed of restore is absolutely the most important thing, an image-based approach is obviously going to be best. You can achieve near instantaneous recoveries, but typically you're going to only want to retain a few copies of these backups. Conversely, for those less important data sets, file backups are going to be more appropriate. Essentially, these are very similar to the way full and incremental backups have been done since time immemorial. You're probably very familiar with this concept, and in practice, having to go back to your last full backup and then use incremental, or less commonly now, differential backups to build that data up to the set that you actually want to restore. VSTAX Protect uses these techniques but creates that synthetic full backup. So essentially each incremental backup is a full restore point, and it eliminates a lot of that manual work that previously you have had to do. The practical upshot for this is that deletion of a single piece of data propagates all the way through the backup sets to where the data resides, and it ensures that you're never in that scenario Mark outlined earlier when you're having to manually identify each backup, where that data resides, and then go in, mount it, do the deletion, demount it, and so on and so forth. So for those Article 17 requests, those subject access requests, it means that you can be confident that where you've identified where that personal data exists, you can run that single deletion, and it'll propagate all the way through the backups. So you'll therefore be compliant with your Article 6 requirements as well. You'll of course still need to identify and remove that data from your primary production systems, but as we outlined, most of the backup solutions are really going to struggle with getting that data out of the backup and archive environment and render you non-compliant and in breach of an Article 17 subject access request, and of course the Article 6 requirement as well. So VSTAX Protect gives you the ability to run a report against this and demonstrate to whoever it might be concerned that it may be necessary to demonstrate to that their data has in fact been removed from your system. And you can see on screen a very generic example of what this looks like. In addition to this, we also give you the ability to run a compliance report, which runs across a rolling 30-day period, to give you that audit trail against what data has been deleted, by whom, from where, and of course when this deletion occurred. All of this in conjunction gives you the ability to be confident that you're complying with Article 6 and Article 17 and removing that personal data from your backup environment, and therefore you can be confident that the solution will be compliant with Articles 25 and 32. So with that, I'd like to thank you for attending today's session and open the floor for questions.